Olá e bem-vindos ao Low-Key Portuguese. Hoje vamos ver adjetivos e pronomes possessivos. So welcome to Low-Key Portuguese. Today we're going to look at possessive adjectives and pronouns. And without spending too much time, let's get right into it. So adjetivos possessivos. So we have to think about possessive adjectives along the lines of the subject pronouns that we are typically working with in Portugal. Eu, tu, você, nós e vocês. Eles e elas, we'll talk about those a little bit later, but we'll think about these for now. So the subject pronouns that we are commonly working with very much relate to the possessive adjectives my, your, whether we're talking about your informal. Remember, in Portuguese, there's a formal you and an informal you. In this case, tu is our informal you. And then você will be our formal you, as has been the case throughout our time looking at working with European Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. Portuguese, nonetheless. Then we have our nós, which would be our. And then vocês are your plural. We also have to look at the possessive adjectives that align with those. So we very much want to think about possessive adjectives as aligning with the subject pronouns. So just like all adjectives, we have to think in terms of masculine and feminine, as well as singular and plural. So it's twofold. You got to think about who's doing the possessing and what they're possessing. So who's doing the possessing is our subject, is the person or entity that we want to create that adjective for. But then the way that that adjective ends, we have to factor in gender and quantity. So masculine, feminine, singular, plural, just like every other adjective. If you check out my last video where I go over adjectives, we get into that, a little bit of that, and some of the rules that play out along those lines. So for the masculine, we'll focus on the masculine and then get into the feminine for each one of these subject pronouns. So for eu, for the I, for the first person singular, my, so to say my whatever belongs to me, my, I can think of meu, that's the singular masculine, meu, or meus, okay? Meu, meus. And then we want to add something to that to know what is mine. What are we saying is my? In this case, we're going to go with friend or friends. So if it's a singular friend, meu amigo. Meu amigo. If it's plural, if you have more than one friend, you want to talk about more than one of your friends, meus amigos. Meus amigos. We can talk a little bit about how these two words sound in isolation, as I just did there, meus amigos. In everyday speech, you're going to hear those two words kind of blend together. And anytime you have a word that ends in a consonant like S, and the following word will begin with a vocalic sound, with a vowel, you almost kind of blend them together. There's a bit of a liaison that's created there, and it almost sounds like meus amigos, like it's one word, meus amigos. It's not, it's two separate words, but in everyday speech, those two words start to get blended together and it becomes meus amigos, or meus amigos, if you want to say that with nice pronunciation and really get the true sound for each one of those words. But if you want to say them together and really with any words that have this reality, this construction of one word ends in an S, the following begins with a vowel sound, you're going to hear that link up quite a bit. So meus amigos, okay? Meus amigos. That's the masculine, my. Now I want to say we want to go into the feminine. How do we construct these adjectives to talk about my, but now we're going to talk about my things that are feminine, right? So minha amiga, minha is the feminine possessive adjective for my. Minha, the singular, minhas, minhas. That NH is that very particular Portuguese sound. It's the ny sound in canyon or onion. Minha, singular, now the plural, minhas. So now put it all together, minha amiga, minhas amigas. And the same thing is going to happen if I want to say this as true and genuine and authentic as possible, minhas amigas. So you can kind of hear how it kind of connects, minhas amigas, but in everyday speech, minhas amigas. Tá bom? Let's go to you. the two, but the two informal, your informal. We can go with teu, teu for the masculine, or teus for masculine plural. So teu, masculine singular, teus, masculine plural. And then just to add an entity here that we want to describe, we're going to say your grandparents. Your grandparents, teus avós. Teus avós. Teus avós. Let's go to the plural form of that. So something that's feminine that we want to describe, that we have to modify the adjective to accommodate and to agree with the thing that we're describing. In this case, your aunts. Tua tia, if it were singular, tua tia, if you're saying your aunt, tua tia, or tuas tias. Tuas tias. Okay? Tuas tias, your aunts. Now we're going to go to your formal, but this one can also be used to describe a third person, his or her, or their, if the thing that we're describing, that their, if that person, this is one way to do it. This is a separate way that we can talk about third person, singular and plural, and adjectives and things that show possession. But in this case, we're going to go with the seu, or seus. So seu pai for the singular masculine, your father, seu pai, or his father, o seu pai, or her father, seu pai, or their father, seu pai. Okay, seus pais, I'm sorry, it should be seus pais in that case. So now for the plural form of that, now just know that pais as a plural is parents. Okay, it means parents, the collective, mom and dad, pais, mãe e pai, os pais. So seus pais for the plural form of this, your, his or her, or their. And then for the feminine, sua, or suas for the plural feminine, suas, sua casa, suas casas. Tá bom? Good? Tá bom. Now let's go to the first person plural with possessive adjectives, our. This one goes with nós, right? This is and this one, it kind of even looks like it. It has a very clear construction. Nosso for our, or nossos for our, but the thing being plural. So the thing in the first example, primo, our cousin, nosso primo, or if we're talking about our cousins, nossos primos. So there has to be that agreement there between the adjective and the thing that the adjective is describing, the noun that the adjective is describing. Now let's go to the feminine version of our. Nossa, nossa família, our family. But if we want to talk about our families, nossas famílias. Nossas famílias. Tá bom? And then we're gonna go to vocês, to the your, to the you plural, but in this case we're going to talk about your, but in a plural sense. Vosso is the singular form there. Vosso, or vossos for the masculine plural. So singular masculine, vosso, plural masculine, vossos. And the word here, antepassados, are ancestors. Antepassados. So the ante, that's a nice little prefix that we can identify from English, right? Coming before, ante, anterior. So antepassados, passado, past. So your past descendants, antepassados, your ancestors, I'm sorry. E vossa, your, but this case we're going to go feminine and singular. Vossa sobrinha, your niece. Again, the your here is a plural your, right? Vossa sobrinha, or if you have that group of people that you're talking to, let's say it's a couple and they have more than one niece, vossas sobrinhas. Vossas sobrinhas. Tá bom? So that's essentially the possessive adjectives that we need to know. There is this alternative way to describe things that belong to his or her or their, or whether that there is masculine, mixed, or there is all entirely comprised of all females. It's a contraction of de, which is a preposition that really has lots of different meanings, and this is one of them. It's of or pertaining to. So if it's of, it's got that sense of possession that we're looking at. So it's de plus ele or eles, or de plus ela or elas, which are our subject pronouns for him or he or she, he and she, ele, ela, And then for their, eles, which could either be a group of all males or a mixed group of people, male and female. And then we have uh, delas, which is a group of all, elas would be a group of all women, all females. And when we contract that, it becomes delas. So there's 4 of these that you need to know. And we would use these in the examples that we'll see here just in a minute. So we want to contract de with ele, becomes dille. We want to contract de with ela, becomes dela. And then if we contract de with eles, becomes deles. And the contraction of de and elas becomes delas. It's pretty logical sequence here. So here's a couple of examples of how this might work. So o carro é deles. O carro é deles. The car is theirs. The car is theirs. O carro é deles. O eu gosto dele. Eu gosto dele. Let's say you ask me how I feel about this car. I like it. I like it. Eu gosto dele. Okay? Remember, in Portuguese, there's no it. So it doesn't really function the same way as in English. So we want to make sure that we really understand the different subjects and how these align with them, because that's really the key here. And then just looking at the feminine, singular, and plural form of that as an example, a casa é delas, the house is theirs, but this theirs is all women. It's all female. A casa é delas. There's no doubt about it. The owners of this house are all women. They all are women. And then just as an example of a singular form of using this, eu gosto dela. I like, it could be the house, but it could mean I like her. Or in the first one, eu gosto dele, I like him. It could be that as well. So it's just demonstrating how we can use this word not only as an adjective, in this case, and we look at it, eu gosto dele or eu gosto dela, we're using it as a pronoun, right? We're substituting an entire subject with that subject, but the thing that we like about them. All right, so there's a few ways that we can use this. There's obviously a lot more that we could look at this in exercises and really delve into this. If that's something that you're interested in seeing, please let me know in the comments, and I will absolutely put together videos that have exercises that I can walk you through, and I think that might be helpful too, but it's up to you. Let me know. All right, just a little bit more, just a few other rules that we want to just think about before we go any further. So these possessive adjectives always precede the noun they modify. They never come after. So as minhas casas, my houses. As minhas casas. And I would highly encourage you, if you're in the realm of learning European Portuguese in particular, to always use the article beforehand. In European Portuguese, it's especially with names. Brazilian Portuguese, typically you'll drop the article u or a when you're referring to a person's name. In European Portuguese, it's more common to hear people use those articles. So I personally think, especially for early learners, that you want to make sure that you include the usage of that article, u, us, and us, or uma, umas, uns e umas, to make sure that you're keeping yourself on track with the agreement that needs to occur between the different components in the sentence. So if you look at as minhas casas, as feminine plural, minhas, feminine plural, casas, feminine plural. So you'll have these components, and they're there to help you kind of think about how these sentences should be constructed and how you go about that. So again, just looking at the other one, as suas bicicletas. In this case, I'm going with your formal, right? The your that goes with você, your bikes. As suas bicicletas, your bikes. Possessive adjectives change number and gender to agree with the things that they possess, not the possessor. So you have to pick the appropriate line, my, your, his, her, their, our, your, whichever one of those, depending on who's doing the possessing. But then you want to make sure that they agree with the things that's being possessed, right? That those endings that I'm going through here, whether the plurals, the s's in parentheses to designate plurality, or the distinct words that designate masculine and feminine. So it's twofold. There's a couple of examples here. A minha casa, as minhas casas. O nosso professor, os nossos amigos. These things all have to match up. Masculine, 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 singular, singular, singular. Then we have os nossos amigos, plural, plural, plural. And then again, just look at the feminine, a nossa professora, feminine, 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 singular, singular, singular. And the same thing will apply to the last one here, as nossas amigas, when we look at plural, feminine, plural, feminine, plural, feminine. So that's essentially it. That's possessive adjectives. It's definitely not something to it's not an easy thing to just automatically start using, but it's something to gradually start incorporating into your usage of European Portuguese. I find that, again, if you think about it the same way as any other adjective, agreement, gender, and quantity agrees, and then the rest of it's all vocabulary, right? It's just learning the different words that go with each one of the different subjects in a particular situation that are possessing things. I hope that's helpful. Let me know in the comments if there are videos or concepts that you're confused about or that you'd like more explanations on. I know there's good stuff out there on YouTube, but I'm more than glad to put together videos that explain things in detail, or whatever you're looking for. Let me know. I'm here to help. Please check out our other videos and subscribe to our channel and receive notifications. Turn on your notifications and like these videos. It all helps to make the channel grow. And the more the channel grows, the more videos I'll put out there for those of you learning European Portuguese. Also, you can check out my website, lowkeyportuguese.com, for any services like one-on-one classes or just any sort of language-based services that you're looking for that I can help you with. Até a próxima. Ciao.